Alright, and with that, looks like we're loading into the picks and bans.
Yep.
Alright, so we're starting with the Zoe ban. Probably a target ban for Vance, one of
Yeah.
Vanguard's good champions.
So Vanguard has been eating a Zoe and Aurelion Soul ban about 80-90% of the tournament. It would not be shocking to see them this tournament unless they want to go something specific. Like, I saw Go Routine played, I think, Ashe every single game of their semifinal series, and that would at least make me consider banning that away just to force them on something else.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I think especially if you identify that there's a star player on the roster like Vanguard, who's also the team captain, you want to take options like Aurelion and Zoe off the table, champions that he can snowball with, impact the rest of the map, not just his own lane. So I think that's a really smart choice. An Ashe ban coming out as well, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I guess I'm not surprised to see the Ashe ban. On the other hand, we're seeing Team Not Bots is banning away a lot of Zesha's carry tops.
Yeah.
As we now go 3 for 3 in the ban with Tryndamere, Garen, and Aatrox all going off the table.
Yeah, so definitely a lot of consensus going on that banning out the captain, banning out the top tier players, the go-to strat here.
Yeah. One thing I think that's actually really interesting about this matchup is you kind of have you're going strength against weakness, I guess. Like, nobody in this tournament is a particularly bad player or anything, but when you look at Rip Heart of Gold, like, Zesha and Shooks have kind of been the two top performers in top and bot lane. For Team Not Bots, you have Vance in the mid lane and Scanlong in jungle have kind of been carrying them. So you're pitting it almost might end up being a way of who's going to be able to smash their side the hardest.
Yeah, definitely like build your own fire. Don't put out their fire. You got to build your own counter fire and see whose fire gets roaring faster. And we see the Caitlyn Morgana locked in response to Trundle. That's a really strong duo lane coming out already from Notbots. So we'll see. This lane that has a lot of strength in maintaining early lane priority, has a lot of harass and a lot of kill pressure, because if Morgana ever connects to bind, it's going to combo in the entire Caitlyn trap net combo, so there's a lot of threat coming out there. Looks like Heart of Gold responding with the Nami, which is a favorable matchup in the Morgana normally, but with the amount of kill pressure that comes out of bind plus trap, Nami's going to have to be really careful here to space around that and make sure she doesn't get one shot.
Yeah, although at least like making sure you're picking your ranged support gives you a little more flexibility in terms of still being able to do something and not eat all that harass.
Yeah, right.
But it also drops your margin of error pretty substantially. Kindred coming in here for Scanlong wins Presma. Yep.
Yeah, Kindred locked in. It's a standard counter pick to Trundle and competitive metagame, so it makes sense that you pick this up. There's sort of like a rock, paper, scissors jungle metagame right now, where it's ideally you want Sejuani on your team, but you can't pick Sejuani while Trundle's up, and you can't pick Trundle when you can pick Trundle because Trundle's best in class, but Trundle's soft counter by Kindred. So Trundle goes over to blue side, and Kindred picked up by red side here.
I'll say worth noting in the win that their last win in the 5-game series, the 4th game, for Team Not Bots, Scanlong went 10-2-6 on the Kindred. It just kind of went off.
Wow, yeah.
As we now see Vanguard and Zesha eating more bans.
Yep. Yeah, we'll have to see how deep these players can dig into their champion pool pockets, see what they can produce. So Zedia in particular facing the 5 bans against himself. So, yeah,
It's actually interesting. I almost expected them to try to get him onto Darius this game. Just in terms of like the priority, I think that's roughly where you're a little less scared of him. Darius is much more kiteable. You have someone like Kindred, who is a Karthus, comes in for Vanguard. I don't know how much of this we've seen this tournament for him. Oh, wait, this might be a proxy. No,
okay.
It's not a proxy pick.
It's a real pick? Real pick? Okay,
it is a real pick.
Karthus. Interesting. So definitely going in with that global pressure, saying like you can take away those roamers, you can take away those high damage champions who can go to bottom, but Karth is still on the table. Is this a normal pick for Vanguard, or is this something that's improvised?
I don't think I've seen Karthus going around almost at all this tournament for Vanguard. Let me do a quick check here, but like he didn't play it in the semis. Much more, it's been like the Twisted Fate. I mean, Vanguard plays just about everything, but there's been like Victor, Zoe, like a lot of control mages mid, and I guess maybe Karthus fits that. It's just he's a little less safe and a little more dieable. And we are one, yeah, and I can confirm Vanguard has not played Karthus this tournament.
Well, that'll be pretty exciting. I wonder if he's been maybe practicing it on a Smurf or on a hidden account, racking up some gains. That sounds like something he would do.
Yeah, it certainly wouldn't surprise me. And so it looks like ultimately Zesha is going to be playing on the Pantheon as Pacific time goes around with the Gangplank.
Huh, interesting.
Little surprising to me that they would pick a counter carry top. Like, I kind of expect Team Not Bots to put Pacific time on something really safe, like a Poppy or a Mundo or something like that, and accept that you're going to lose the lane and just try to lose gracefully.
Right, right. Especially given that they have the red side last big counter pick, you'd think they would maybe play something more conservative, but instead with the Gangplank lock-in, what that suggests to me, and based on what you said, is instead of farming this Gangplank as a carry, like he's still going to have presence and he's still going to have teamfight damage, but I think they're really gearing up to just use Gangplank ultimate to win through bottom lane, right? If you have the Karthus ultimate, you have the Gangplank ultimate, you have a lot of tools to pressure bottom lane globally without even having to commit to leaving your lane, and on top of that, both those spells synergize really effectively with the Kindred ultimate Last Respite. If the enemy champions try to stack him Last Respite, they're all low health conveniently when it ends for Karthus ultimate, and if you can trap them there with Gangplank ultimate as well, it's potentially really powerful.
Yeah, this is. I don't think a lot of lane pressure from anywhere in sort of the top half of the map is really coming. Karthus isn't really known for his incredible laning. Gangplank obviously isn't a bad laner, but Zesha right now is running Ignite Flash Pantheon. So we have a 3-minute delay here, and so he knows what he wants to do. We'll see. I think there's also a chance that maybe they're going to attack Zesha really hard here. With the Kindred as sort of an aggressive jungler that can go and do things. I don't think I like that against the Pantheon, but it's certainly something that's probably in their playbook, especially if they're willing to pick one of those carry top to sort of match up against him. And like when Heart of Gold loses, Zesha usually has a good number of deaths. Like he's an aggressive player, and he's going to be looking for those solo kills and trying to blow people up.
Right, right. Yeah, I think just looking at this draft compositionally, Notbots definitely has a much stronger internally synergistic team composition. They have a pretty clear plan, they have a clear strategy, they have global pressure, win through bot lane, they have a lot of ranged threats who can siege and kite backward, whereas Heart of Gold is maybe a little bit less compositionally synergistic, but they have potentially strong laners and strong laning matchups. They have this Pantheon, the Gangplank, which is favorable early on at least, and Ahri can put a lot of pressure on Karthus post 6 with her ultimate, and Trundle, who has a lot of strong dueling, a lot of crowd control. So I'd say that Heart of Gold's win condition is really sort of win lane, win game, just pick strong laners, pick comfort picks, and try to win through that way, whereas Notbot's showing a very different sort of draft philosophy, trying to assemble a strong synergistic team composition, give themselves team fighting tools instead of necessarily laning tools. So the lane I really want to watch here is bot lane, because if Notbots is able to win bot lane, if they can get an advantage with this strong laning duo, Caitlyn Morgana, I think they'll be in a really great position to enter the mid game, scale out with their Karthus Gangplank Caitlyn, and look to outscale their opponents. Whereas Heart of Gold, I think they really need to get snowballing, see if Trundle can make something happen, if Pantheon can wake up and start ulting across the map. If they can blow the game open and have a chaotic game, I think that favors Heart of Gold, whereas Notbots want something more controlled, they want to farm up and use their global pressure.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think this is a case where clearly the compositions late game are going to favor Notbots. But it's going to be kind of on, especially I think around the bottom lane of Shooks and Rakalakali, to try to almost just hold it in. Like, they're against a lane with a lot of kill threat. Their mid and top should both be able to win pretty reasonably, absent jungle pressure swinging the matchup or anything like that. as we're now going to load it.
Yep, loading onto the Rift. And I will have to fiddle with my broadcast software as I get the game capture because I forgot to do that beforehand. Oh, system error. That was. Game still in progress. Well, I could not. Oh, I think I can reconnect. Let's see if I can reconnect. Alright, I'm feeling good. I believe in Riot Games.
Got it right. It's been a rough week for you, but you can do this for us.
Yeah. We have an important competitive match.
So just sort of looking through, I don't think there's anything particularly
we're
surprising in the keystones coming through here. Airy for both supports. You got Fleet Footwork for both AD carries. Pantheon's running Electrocute. Ahri's running Electrocute. Gangplank running Grasp, which is about what you'd expect for someone who's probably just going to try to not lose the lane.
Yep. Just to mitigate that, have that huge amount of flat health and things like Bone Plating plus Chrysalis to withstand the all-in, so definitely giving himself tools to survive.
I was saying, even if Red Part of Gold can spin out a big early lead, like, if Notbots can stall this game out, they're going to be in a really good position.
Yeah, for
really
sure.
Any takes to speak of in this game other than maybe Trundle, who's at most a kind of tank.
Right.
But Pantheon falls off a cliff and is going to have a lot of trouble getting in. Ahri does good burst damage, but is not the highest sustained damage mage in a team fight, and obviously Gangplank is one of the... I just got unable to download Spectator. The game will now exit.
Yep. That sounds a lot like what happened to me. I'm still loading in, so I think you're okay.
Alright, I see games on progress. I'm gonna try to reconnect as well.
Alright. Yeah, again, in line with that, Heart of Gold, they really have this big mid-game wake-up. If they have Trinity Force plus maybe Stormrazor Corki, if they have 2-item Ahri, if they have perhaps Cinderhulk Tiamat, Trundle, they're really strong at 1 and 2 items. That's their big spike. Whereas if we look at the other side, if we look at Notbots, they have a couple potentially strong laners, such as Karthus and Caitlyn, who have tools to win their lane if they play really well. Have good laning fundamentals, good trades, but their mid game is not amazing. Karthus has a lot of presence, and Gangplank has presence, but Caitlyn Morgana can start to feel less relevant when they're sitting at 1 item, especially compared to the Trinity Force that we'll see from the Corki on the opposite side. So that'll be a close thing to watch for if Notbots can withstand that mid game spike using their global pressure and just create a farm game.
Yeah, definitely. Especially because you're going to have... Caitlyn's going to fall into a trough basically right as Heart of Gold hits their spikes. Are you in, by the way, now? Can you see everything? Cool. All right, we have a pretty non-aggro start for both teams, just kind of fanning out in defensive formation here. As it looks like they're going to start on the blue buff for Notbots and red buff for Heart of Gold.
Yep. So it looks like it'll be a buff take, and it will be a sort of so we see a little bit of divergence for the jungle clear routes. Scanlong looking for more of a full clear, whereas Banshadow is quickly clearing toward the top half on his wolves, and likely is going to transition into hitting his blue buff in just a moment. So definitely a very different routing from... Oh, interesting. Trundle taking both small wolves and then looking to invade.
Oh, so the other thing we might see is we may actually see a really early dive coming in here on the Gangplank. Given Trundle's positioning, given the Ignite, given Pantheon's W passive, which lets him block the first tower shot that comes in.
Yep. We take a look at lane priority. Pantheon has an immense wave crashing in. Gangplank is only level 1, finally hits level 2, but is already out of mana, whereas on the other side, Caitlyn Morgana doing Caitlyn Morgana things, shoving in the wave, but not really able to convert that into CS advantage quite yet. Oh, these junglers skirmishing. the Scanlong is able to secure his own red buff, so that's catastrophic for Band Shadows. Misses a lot of golden experience now, being down a lot of tempo.
Yeah. And Scanlong flashes the mastery just to show who's boss.
Yeah, gotta assert your dominance. Yep, so Pacific Time and Zedia both booming out here, trading a lot of spells. Oh, Scanlong going for the invade. Gets the Smite War, is up a level, and because of that, it's going to be massively ahead of Trundle here, really capitalizing on the priority that Vanguard has from mid lane to put himself further ahead. Trundle is going to be suffering for a long time now because of this.
Yeah, this is a really bad start for the Trundle and a really good start for the Kindred coming in. Especially because, was he able to pick up a mark on any of them? I don't think so. Oh, no, he did get a mark. Okay. Oh, as Trundle gets a little bit of revenge.
Yep.
Pacific Time looks like he's going to need to take it back really soon, as he's about half health and 100% out of mana.
Yeah,
Got about one shot left in that pistol.
Oh, Gavin VS playing with fire almost dies there to Vanguard, who lands some critical Qs there. Is going to be able to shove in and deny a cannon minion, which is really good for him.
Yeah, I think Gavin just wanted to taste the rainbow there.
Yeah. testing your limits, but unfortunately you don't want to taste too many of the... Oh, Zedia trading quite aggressively. Pacific Time was able to recall and teleport back in the lane. We'll soak this wave up, and it's only down about 10 farm. Oh, but bot lane, a huge fight breaking out. Ignite going down. Corki getting massively chunked out. Force out there is willing to hold his heal and flash. So doesn't use any summoner spells. Nami will be able to heal him up, and that's Ignite committed from Morgana. I think that's still a favorable exchange for Caitlyn Morgana right now, since if Corki's chunked out, it's going to be hard for him to farm, and Nami's going to lose a lot of presence if she's forced to use her ebb and flow defensively. But speaking of this, Trundle visiting the bottom lane.
Yep, as Trundle and Kindred are hitting each other again.
Ooh, a close juke there from Band Shadows. Nearly eats the bind, but manages to scramble on out of there.
I'll say in this scuttle, if Scanlong can take it, does have a mark on it.
Yeah, Scanlong really wants this. Is up a level, but does not have smite, so isn't able to smite this one away. Oh, this crazy skirmish happened here in the river. No. So not too much is going to happen. Crab does go in the favor of Band Shadows. It looked like Vanguard wasn't able to maintain pressure at that point. I think he had just reset, if I remember correctly, and because of that, the crowd control going to go in favor of Trundle there.
Yep. And it looks like Zesha has also taken his first back and has gotten back to lane, and now is showing some of the lethality that is going to make Gangplay's life really sad here for a little bit.
Yeah, huge wave crashing in the top lane. That's going to be really rough for Pacific Time. He might need to just call Scanlong to break the freeze for him, because if Pantheon just keeps the wave there, it's going to be really gross for Pacific Time to survive this lane. Ahri landing a charm in mid, hits level 6 on the level up, but isn't able to convert into a kill. Vanguard just backs out that one. Yeah, very much the story that we were telling in draft here, the superstar players and the bands, right? Vanguard dominating Ahri in mid lane in what is considered to be a slightly difficult matchup for Karthus, having a huge CS lead. And similarly in the top lane, Zedia getting a lot of damage on Pacific Time, going low, dies the Ignite, reducing the healing he gets from Origin. Scanlong potentially going to die here, flashes away. Oh, but he gets the return kill on Zedia, so that's prevents that from becoming a complete catastrophe, because if Scanlong and Pacific Time get double killed by Zedia, that's going to be a huge hole that Pacific Time will have to dig himself out of. But they end up going 1-for-1, and normally I'd consider that favorable for Heart of Gold, for blue team. But in this situation, I think they really need Zedia to come online, and because of that, an even trade like that, I think it's going to go in favor of Notbots. They get the assist on their kill. They stabilize this gangplank, and they prevent Zedia from getting further ahead.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's great that Scanlong was able to turn around that kill and not feed over the double kill instead. That being said, I really don't like the setup there from Nutbots. Like, the best case at that point is while you're using your jungle pressure, you give up a 1-for-1. That's the absolute best thing that can happen for you. And if I'm using jungle pressure, if I'm wasting my jungler's time, I would like my position to be something where I can win. Whereas, like, it was really obvious that Pacific Time was going to get killed by Zesha there.
Right,
like,
right, yeah, definitely a misplay on their part, right, yeah. If they play that better, I think they can definitely keep Pacific Time alive. He baited that a little too hard, and it was very convincing that but all the same, Zedia does get the kill, so yeah. Definitely some errors going down on both sides.
I mean, honestly, I expect that Zisha knew that the jungler was there.
Yeah, just accepted to, yeah, right. I'm sure his position is that if he can get gold on himself, if he can snowball, then he can just pound Pacific Time into the dust and then open up the map, snowball mid, roam using his ultimate. So he just needs to get himself as strong as possible so he can start helping his team.
Yeah, definitely.
One thing we need to keep in mind is Gangplank ult? Oh, it was actually can't see if that's...
Yep, Gangplank ultimate was used in that dive.
Alright, so that means that is not up right now. It's coming up soon though. Is at a almost 3-minute cooldown. It's like 2.5 minutes, but it'll be back in about 30 seconds or so. And once that's up, we're gonna have to see if Notbots is able to use the combination of the Cannon Barrage and the Karthus ultimate to try and set something up on the map.
Oh, so worth noting, if Notbots wanted to repeat that play, now they have the Kindred ultimate.
Oh, right. Yeah, that is definitely on the table now, right?
Which means you can bait a lot more aggressively and not have your Gangplank killed.
Right.
As we kind of do a quick look at the lanes. Worth noting, the bot lane, which we thought might go in favor of Notbots with the Caitlyn Morgana, has down 10 CS to the Corki.
Yeah, really surprising.
The most CS in the game.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Karthus, with its not much lane presence, is up 25 CS on the Ahri.
Yeah, we're not really living in a perfect world here, so have some discrepancies you have to account for. There's definitely a lot of skill asymmetries across both these rosters, so I think there's definitely a second metagame strategy that involves like how do you allocate not just your champions and your champions resources, but how do you allocate around your players. And Zedia looking to pressure mid, man drops into mid, Karthus ulting before he goes down, gets immediately stunned. An uncharacteristic misplay coming out of Vanguard, panics there on ultimates as he's dying, but before he has actually died and went to his passive, wastes ult completely there. Really unfortunate for him.
I would say the best guess I have for that is that he was trying to hit flash and just fat fingered the R instead.
Yeah, maybe that's definitely possible. He does have his flash on F, so.
I would say anyone who's played Karthus for a game or two knows that, like, not only can you not really cast it when you're alive, you certainly can't cast it around people.
Yeah, especially when one of those people is a Pantheon with Aegis ready to stun you. So he's not that kill actually happens at a pretty critical timing too, which means that Vanguard isn't going to be able to finish Roa. He's probably just a little bit short. I'm going to actually check the gold total. So yeah, it wasn't able to farm up for his Roa completion. Trundle in the top side, looking to gank Pacific Time. Pacific Time gets chunked out, dies the Ignite, and the orange is just not enough to save him. That's going to be really hard for him. Zedia is already doing so much on the map right now. Vanguard, undeterred, forces Flash against Gavin as bot lane's fighting. Corki going low. Ignite coming down from Nami, who's looking to turn this, but Kindred here, looking to gank bottom, does have Lamb's Respite available, and Corki is potentially going to have to leave or get dived. He's hanging around here, seeing if he can get the Nami sustain, but Vanguard is already here as well, and things are not looking good for the bottom. They didn't dive. So... Okay. So they're not able to convert their 4-man bottom into the tower dive. I feel like they really could try to do something, but I guess they're maybe afraid because they don't have Gangplank ultimate. And Caitlyn is out of mana, so they end up hesitating there. Have to send Vanguard back to mid lane, who ends up losing a couple ways for his troubles. So kind of a missed opportunity there from Notbots.
Yeah, I also am not sure they actually had vision of Trundle at the time.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Stuttered off for the fear that he shows up with a counter gank and that turns around on them.
You're right. That would make a lot of sense. So as it is, we're just going to reset back. Caitlyn's going to come back with a Stormrazor completion, and I'm not sure if Corki's going to have Trinity Force completion. That's a pretty expensive item. So for a brief window, oh yeah, unfortunate for Corki, he's on Trinity Force components. That's a feels bad man right there.
Yeah, Trinity Force components is about the worst you can possibly feel after a buy.
Yep. So unfortunate for him. I'll have to scrounge up a little more gold. I wouldn't be surprised to see him shove out for a wave reset and then finish his Trinity Force, because you really don't want to be Trinity Force components against completed Stormrazor Caitlyn.
I was saying, back in the day, Trinity Force completion was what, 3 gold?
Oh yeah, yeah. So I think it's like 333 now, if I remember correctly.
I think it's 333.
Yep.
Or sorry, 3 threes, not 4 threes.
Yeah, yeah. 333 gold. Remember when Brutalizer costed 1,337 gold? That was good times. Rest in peace,
Yep.
Brutalizer.
As we
Just
see,
like Heart of Gold.
Heart of Gold up about a 500 gold lead here. Most of it, I think, is on the Pantheon. In fact, all of it is on the Pantheon.
Yes, he is a wealthy, wealthy man. The issue, though, is will he be able to keep Gangplank down? Because Gangplank is actually even farm. It's kind of interesting here. Vanguard going for that roam bottom that turns into nothing, ends up bleeding a lot of his CS advantage that he had earlier. And Corgi bullying Caitlyn Morgana in lane somehow using the Nami sustain and actually has a CS lead. So a lot of surprises happening in this game. Not exactly what we expected going into it. But it does mean that Heart of Gold is going to have a lot of tools in just a moment. As soon as they complete Trinity Force, as soon as they get maybe another Dirt completion on the Pantheon, they're going to be really strong and they can look to snowball, they can look to fight. Notbots is going to be on the back foot and we'll see if they're able to pull something out and stabilize.
Also, in a power spike, you don't necessarily think of as a big power spike, too. It's sort of the Gangplank level 7 and 13 power spikes, which is when your barrels start dropping HP faster. It becomes way easier to land barrel combos as we have a pause coming in.
Yeah, tactical pause. We see... Oh, ping. So it got some lag going on. We're going to have to see if
From
we
what
just
my
wait this
screen
one
is
out.
showing, it looks like the reason for the pause is a 722 damage crit from Pantheon. I think Gangplank was a little surprised to see that, and is having Riot investigate if that's too much damage.
And we have to contact our friends at Riot Games, see if they have anything to say about this one.
But yeah, I mean, I think we've had a relatively calm early game here so far.
Yep.
I would probably expect the game to really open up in the next 5 or 10 minutes. Or
Yeah, yeah.
if Heart of Gold is going to win, that's when the game is going to open up.
Right, right. This is their big window. They made it even up to this point. They survived what could have been difficult lanes, and now they're going to be rewarded for that with this huge mid-game wake-up. They're about to hit their 1-item completions. One thing we do need to pay attention to as well is that Trundle does have Rift Herald available and is in the bottom side of the map. So when we resume, I wouldn't be surprised to see Trundle just shove this in with his duo lane, drop the Herald, and see if they can take tower. Caitlyn's already chunked out to about a third HP, and even though she does have wave clear tools, if she gets pillared out, not even Morgana Black Shield can save you from the pillar. And it's going to trap you. You'll be able to mitigate this slow, but if you just get trapped behind the pillar and that turns into maybe Nami Ebb and Flow into Bubble, that's an easy tower take right there for Heart of Gold.
Yeah, absolutely. And jungler pressure is nowhere around as Scanlong is sort of coming around top side to support Pacific time.
Yeah.
As we now resuming.
They do have some counterplay available in the form of Cannon Barrage. They also have Karthus, that Requiem available as well. So Heart of Gold is going to have an opportunity to dive bottom, but they need to play it really careful. If they misplay just a little bit, they can easily get punished on the turnaround by that double global ultimate.
Yeah. I think one thing that I would have really looked for the go button if Red had made their Notbots had made their aggressive move top and used committed the Gangplank ult trying to kill the Pantheon, that would have been a huge go signal for Heart of Gold. That of course never transpired.
Yep. One thing I'm really impressed with is how Pacific Time has been able to weather the storm here in top lane. He's not doing well by any means, but he's able to farm safely, and that's more than you really could expect from this matchup, especially given that Zedia is the team captain, star player of his roster.
I thought Rakalakali is the team captain.
Oh, he is? Oh, apologies then. I misunderstood. Okay, Rakalakali is the captain. But Zedia pulling a lot of bans is what I should say. So
yeah, he's definitely the team magnet.
Yeah, right. That's a better way of putting it. More accurate. Fight breaking out bottom though. Scanlong going in, the binding ends up missing entirely, and once again, I'm not super convinced by the compositional strategy of using globals to play for bot lane. Hold that thought. Pacific Time getting dived in the top lane. Zedia comes in. Requiem trying to go down to see if they can get the return kill. Pacific Time forced to ult defensively for himself, but Trundle just so tanky. Eats so many tower hits and is going to drop the Rift Herald top lane. There's no one here to defend. This is potentially going to be 1, maybe even 2 towers top lane if it goes uncontested.
I would say that was about the opposite of what we suggested was going to happen, but still in the same sort of vein, that they saw Scanlong bottom, and as soon as they saw Scanlong bottom, that looked like the signal for them to go top. And
Yep.
Pacific Time played that about as well as you could. Didn't flash, actually, which surprises me a little bit.
Yeah, he actually ended up getting
able to-
forced away from his tower. There's too much damage threat, and I guess he figured he didn't have a great place to flash too. I'm sure there was some kind of creative way you could have used flash. Maybe try to turn that one around, but he might just get double flashed on by CD and Ban Shadows as well. So maybe it resolves the same way, but he could potentially have gotten a better summer spell trade if he had committed his flash.
Yeah, ultimately, I don't think they used anything except the Ignite and the Smite there
Yep.
to take him down and to get the first tower in about half of the second tower as well.
Yeah, as
think
we
Pacific-
see... Oh, yep.
I think Pacific Time is probably going to spend the next several minutes of this game sort of in this spot trying to freeze the wave and not push it out too far, which means Zesh is going to be looking to really roam and affect the map.
Yeah, now that top tower is down, that's really critical for a champion like Pantheon, who normally lacks wave clear, has difficulty getting tower damage. So now he's freed up from having to go top lane. He can be a truly mobile threat. Use all the move speed he gets from his items, out of combat bonus move speed, and as well as the ultimate to just get around the map, start to make things happen. And they get the dragon here, another Cloud Dragon to match the one from...
And the move speed he's about to get from the Cloud Dragon, too.
Oh yeah, so he's gonna be a real fast boy, skipping around. He's barreling it out of base. He's running. Yeah, how much move speed does he have? He has 439 move speed. That's so much move speed. He's really
And
fast.
we're going to see Corki dropped in the bot lane here.
Oh man, Missed that
Exactly the
entirely.
combo you had talked about. Morgana bind hits, Caitlyn trap goes down, Morgana ult goes down. Once that lands, not really a lot you can do.
Yep. Oh, Trundle, see if he can make a punish here. Morgana walking up alone, has to use the stopwatch and goes low, dies instantly to Trundle. Caitlyn still hitting, but there's just not quite enough damage. Scanlong looking to finish one out. Caitlyn picking that on up with the ace in the hole, and Scanlong going for the dive, has Lance Respite available, has to use it, gets too low to the tower, and is going to try and drop here at the last second. Oh, but the tower goes through, it kills him. Caitlyn holding heal, has heal for his jungler, doesn't use it. Really unfortunate there. Big misplay on the part of Notbots. They missed a kill and lost their jungler pretty much for free, so botched execution there. I think they really had the right idea and it looked like a good punish, but being forced to use Lance Respite that early and then not combing properly to escape from the tower at the end just ends up benefiting Heart of Gold immensely.
Yeah, so I think Go Routine there really needed to push a little forward more aggressively. Like, he was sitting at 70-80% health, had flash. Easily could have been sort of the front there and just healed Scanlong or let Scanlong flash out and taken the kill on Nami there.
Yeah, for sure. So just maybe not
Meanwhile,
everyone on the
top
same
lane.
page. Yeah, Pacific Time really suffering. Still able to farm, but just has zero control over the wave right now. Oh, and Vanguard getting flashed on by Zedia, following the flash of Vanguard himself. Kills him over the wall, and Zedia's just going to walk on out of that one with his blue buff. Pretty happy. Making bank. Taking lives, making names, something. Okay, he grabs the crab.
All of a sudden, a 3,500 gold lead almost.
Yeah. It was really neck and neck for a long time. I guess a part of this is a little misleading because we do have Gangplank gold, sort of distorting effective power to gold ratio. But,
Sure, but at the same time, Gangplank's down 1,800 gold on the
right,
Pantheon.
exactly. So we take that into consideration. This is a pretty substantial gold lead for Heart of Gold, and they need it because if this goes to full build, full items, Pantheon is going to stop becoming relevant. Kindred is going to outscale Trundle. Karthus is probably going to outscale Ahri. Caitlyn's going to outscale Corki, so there's definitely a timer here. Oh, but Grand Skyfall coming down. We're going down at the very beginning, and now Garroteen on the run for his life gets chunked out. Oh, a great trap! Keeps it alive. Corki Flash Rocket picks up Garroteen on the back end of the fight, and we're just going to see looks to be Oh, they're not done yet. They're looking for Scanlong. Oh, but he makes it out. Okay. So at the end of that, looks like Heart of Gold is just going to be hitting mid tower, seeing if they can get an objective take. Ooh, and Charm narrowly misses there. But they're just going to siege. They have Training Force Corki, who has a lot of damage threat, a lot of damage on the tower, has rockets to poke. But oh no, Pacific Time gets caught out by Band Shadows here. Might just die, honestly. He gets Super Chunk Trundle ultimate used, but Pacific Time lives. A lot of action going on the map right now.
I think right now Heart of Gold is really doing a good job of those spikes that we talked about. They're really starting to widen the gap in this game.
Yep. So now that they've broken 4 towers, they're going to have immense map control. They can look to commit to Baron pretty soon. Vanguard split pushing in the bottom lane to try and get objective gold back into the pockets of his team. Is going to be able to get it, which is good for his team, but they're losing a lot mid in his absence. They don't have great wave clear. Gangplank doing his best right now with his Trinity Force, Rated Dirk, but they really need Karthus back here pretty soon.
Also, I feel like I really would have liked seeing teleport on the Karthus this game. Because there's a lot to want about putting Karthus in that side lane, but if all it contributes to your fight, to a team fight, is the ultimate, you're not winning that fight.
Right, right. It's definitely a possibility. I mean, one thing that they do have to be afraid of is just Ahri ulting onto Karthus and killing him. So as it was, Vanguard was able to mitigate a lot of the pressure, absorb pressure for his team, only dying twice despite Zedia and Band Shadows visiting his lane. But that exhaust is pretty important to staying alive in the one-on-one, so it's definitely a give and take, an argument to be made for both sides. But right now, the lack of the teleport on Vanguard means that when he goes to split in the side lane, it puts a lot of pressure on the rest of his teammates to hold 4v4 or 4v5 even.
Yeah, definitely. Especially because, I mean, eventually you're probably going to put Gangplank in that side lane, but I'm not sure there's ever really going to get to a point where Gangplank is going to be able to deal with the Pantheon one-on-one.
I guess one question,
even at max items, even at strong build.
Yeah, definitely becomes rough. One question I have, and something that's been on my mind, is that now that Heart of Gold is in the lead, they have their sights on Baron. Baron is going to be pretty awful for not bots to defend against. So what do you think their game plan is? Is there a way they can contest into Baron down gold? Do they just need to give this one up and weather the storm, see if they can scale? What are their outs here?
Well, so they have a couple of things they can do. First off is they don't really want to contest, but Notbots has some champions that actually do pretty well around Baron. Like, Morgana can get high man ults in a contested area. Gangplank obviously does a lot of damage in confined areas. Karthus has his lovely little circles that he can drop on people. And so you obviously aren't going to try to make a Baron play here. But as long as you can kind of keep up vision around Baron and not get to the point where you have to do all of this face checking, I think you might be able to punish Heart of Gold if they try to do it in vision or in a way that you know about.
Right, that's for sure. So Heart of Gold is on a bit of a timer. They need to try and make a pick happen, see if they can use Ahri Ultimate into Charm, try and pick an important member and turn that man advantage into Baron. Because if it keeps going like this, Notbots just has enough tools to stall. Oh, but the Corki Valkyrieing in, followed by the Skyfall, but they're a little bit out of sync. Nami ultimate goes down, and Gorotin gets one shot. Yurius follows soon afterward. That's the pick that they were looking for. Two members are already down. Pacific Time has to orange out of that one. Vanguard trying his best to hold this, but the redemption goes down. And as it is, that's just 2 members essentially for free. No summer spells expend except for Rakalakali's Flash. I'm just gonna call it Raka from now on. Raka's Flash being expended, so they use a lot of ultimates for that pressure. Unfortunately, and somewhat surprisingly, in my opinion, Heart of Gold does not elect to use their two-man advantage to take Baron. They just go to the sideways, farm out, and reset. And normally, I think this would be okay. It's low risk. You know that Notbots is behind. Doesn't have great ways to contest the Baron down gold, but I think in this particular situation they're getting outscaled and they need to make something happen pretty soon. I know it's scary to try and take the Baron against Karthus ult and Gangplank ult still being available, but if they just let the game go on as it is, we see this Caitlyn already at 2 items, we see this Karthus building up power as well. Heart of Gold needs to commit to something, needs to make Baron happen before it's too late and they get outscaled by the Notbots roster.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, even if they didn't end up getting Baron, I would have really liked to see them put a little more proactive effort into getting vision control around Baron at least, to try to at least set up for maybe another pick that could then lead into the Baron.
Right, yeah, they
But
didn't
the
even
thing is, like,
convert
they
in
didn't-
topside vision.
I would say they didn't even clear out the ward that Notbots has around Baron, as it just dies right now.
Yeah.
And they had a couple of forward wards in the jungle, but they weren't defended. They weren't in any position where they were going to hold up.
Yeah. One thing that concerns me a little bit is that Vanguard keeps insisting on split pushing bottom lane as Karthus without teleport, and that's going back to the summer spell choice that you mentioned earlier. I think this would be okay if Karthus did have teleport available, but as it is, Pacific Time should really be the one down here matching. Karthus should be up topside wave clearing, so Vanguard's just going to have to recall, cannot commit to split pushing for the tower and can maintain pressure. And just Vanguard continuing to go bottom is putting so much stress on the rest of his teammates to try and wave clear this in the 4v5.
So the one thing I will say is Heart of Gold doesn't have any teleports on their team. And obviously Pantheon has a semi-global in his ultimate that he will
here's the dive though.
use.
Band drop going down. Caitlyn Morgana getting super chunked out. Yuri's goes down before the ult pop triggers. And Zia just running for Pacific Time. Super low. Oranges to stay alive, but Guillotine gets super chunked. Flashed on by Corki, goes down. That's going to be the inhibitor. Maybe even the game. Vanguard channeling recall now, but I'm not sure if he'll be back in time to hold this. The wave is coming in now for Heart of Gold. What Heart of Gold should really do here right now is that Morgana's coming on 15. This is a risky end to try and take. But they see that Vanguard still hasn't recalled. If he doesn't recall like this, they can just end. They're getting damage on the towers.
Is trying to bluff here, and Heart of Gold is calling that bluff.
Yeah. They have their wave. They still have this. Zedia, they get a lot of damage on Pacific Time. Pacific Time goes down to the Rocket Burst combined with Zedia's crowd control. But Shooks, overextending Lancer Spike goes down, and then Corki is not even in it, isn't able to stay alive. And then that's going to be Rocket going down as well. A huge throw coming out of Heart of Gold. They had a really decisive position. They could have backed out to Baron. They could have reset. They could have tried to end. But instead they hesitate and they just stand in the base and not forcing. Because that Vanguard goes totally unpunished for his Karthus bot lane split push. And this might even just be Baron for Notbots.
It's certainly possible.
Oh, Skyfall! Oh my god, Scanlon goes down instantly, and now Zedia is going to clean this up, but Vanguard trying to make this go in the favor of Notbots, but he just dies as well. Zedia living through all of that, that's catastrophic. I think that will be the end of the game right there, kind of anticlimactic way for that to go down, but I don't think Pacific Time can 1v3 this one.
Yeah, that accelerated pretty quickly there.
Yep.
Pacific Time just kind of needs to do what he can to clear. I don't think he's going to be able to.
Yeah, he's
Although,
trying. He
fair,
has his
maybe
next
they're not
star.
there yet.
Yeah. It is going to be a super minion wave, though. So Guillotine and Yurius are up right now. There is still time for Heart of Gold to throw this back. But Corki valking in. Pacific Time uses Stopwatch to stay alive. And Guillotine is here on Caitlyn. Has Stormrazor Rapid Fire. Needs to start auto-attacking, but isn't getting damage done. Looks like Banshadows dies, and Ahri already chunked out. This might not be the game quite yet. And, oh man, a great ace in the hole. Picking off Gavin. And Zedia is now in some trouble. He's squishy here with his lethality build, and he's going to go down, trading 1-for-1 with Pacific Time. Shooks, this is his show. Can he make this happen? No, he goes down. He takes some with him, but now Rock is on the run. Scantlog chasing him down. Has to outrun the... Oh, and Caitlyn picking up that kill. It's going to be a quadra for Guillotine, and maybe this time they will finally be able to take Baron. That's a really catastrophic throw here for Heart of Gold. They choke, they think they can end, they misplay the fight, they don't take Baron. They've never prioritized Baron for this entire game, and this is going to be the punish. The base is open. It's going to be an open Nexus and mid inhibitor down from the side of Notbots, but because of their composition, they're in a position now to defend with Baron and Scale, and this is anyone's game.
Yeah. One thing that I really hope is on the mind of Notbots, that I'm not 100% will be, is that Pantheon can drop behind them. Like, if their vision lapses in the jungle before that inhibitor respawns, and Pantheon sneaks through, he will end the game before anyone can back.
Right. So we definitely have to see very defensive, very cautious posturing. It's going to result in a lot of dragons for Heart of Gold, but if they're not able to get an actual Elder Dragon, these dragons aren't going to help them end the game. Cloud Dragon's really good in the mid game when you're rotating or if you're split pushing, but now that they're just looking to fight, it's Cloud Dragon a lot less valuable than it could be. It's still going to help the melees like Zedia and Ban Shadows gap close onto the backline of Notbots, but it's still definitely much less valuable than it could have been, say, like Infernal Drake or even an Earth Dragon to help them take Baron.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Infernal is the one that people kind of always want, but in this case, that Infernal, like, once Notbots can scale, that Infernal is not going to be the difference that lets them win a team fight.
Right. It's going to give them time, but time is still against them. They really need to make something happen before Caitlyn hits one more item. That 4-item Caitlyn is going to be scary. Even as it is, 3-item Caitlyn is going to be a real tear. If Giratina can space right and play around the Zedia's engage, he's going to be a real damage threat and have a lot of long-range safety, a lot of long-range damage. But if he goes down, it's going to be hard for the rest of his roster to fight. Karthus needs a little bit of extra damage. He gets a little bit of damage on everyone and might not be able to finish as is. He's not quite strong enough to 1v5. And Pacific Time is also trying to scale, doesn't quite have enough items. Only has 2 items to Caitlyn's 3. So really gonna have to pay attention to Giratina, see how he makes this happen, see how Scanlong uses his Lamb's Respite to turn these fights around.
Yeah, I'll say the one thing that I think kind of went under the cover in Heart of Gold's Throw is that, like, not only did they get aced and give up Baron, like, Caitlyn picked up a quadra kill. They almost accelerated her forward one full item there at that point.
Right, yeah. Yeah, we have to remember that because of the changes to Shutdown Gold, a quadra kill like that at that point in the game when you're behind, that's so much gold getting funneled onto your carry.
Yeah, especially, like, when you hit that gold on the, like, off of the Pantheon who had just come off of his own quadra kill. Like,
yeah.
Caitlyn ended up with a lot of gold. Like, now sitting, it looks like, well, still 1,500 down of her lane opponent, but their team is down 6,000 gold.
Right. You're down 7 towers and 80 CS almost, and you're even items. That's pretty insane. So that just speaks to how much more valuable Caitlyn's skills were relative to Corki. But Skyfall going down, Zedia finding Vanguard. Black Shield goes down from Various to keep him out alive, and Exhaust being coming from Vanguard, but he's trapped by Gavin, is probably going to go down here. Laser Spike, oh, it doesn't go down. He gets CC'd before he can drop it. That's catastrophic here for Notbots. And we see Heart of Gold once again with their 2-man advantage. Can they do it? Can they spot lethal? Can they end the game? They're trying their hardest.
So it's only a 1-man advantage.
Oh, right. It ends up being a 2-for-1.
Might think they'd still be able to end the game. They at least should be able to take this inhibitor down.
Yeah. I think especially if we look at Notbot's composition, they need all 5 of their members working together in harmony for their composition to make sense. They don't have a lot of self-sufficient champions. They have a lot of range champions that depend on each other for support. And there's no towers available. I'm not trying to end it. It's open nexus. They're rotating top without minions. I mean, I guess they get this, but I really feel like they could have ended the game there.
I think it would have been risky, and I think they're a little understandably gun-shy at this point.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe a little bit traumatized by their previous throw. Don't want to replicate that. But another way, like, even if they could misplay and throw there, it's also, in some sense, a misplay to not try to end, just because they're still on a timer. I just can't stop reiterating this. If it goes to full build, I favor Notbots in the 5v5. Maybe 60-40. So because that...
put it more at 70-30.
Yeah, maybe even 70-30. Just late game Karthus, Gangplank, Kindred, Caitlyn, that's just so powerful.
And I mean, that last fight should have been disastrous for them, right? Like,
right,
got caught out and chunked out, and it still was a 1-for-2.
Yeah, it was still close. Like honestly, if Scanlon got Lance Respite there, Notbot smashes Heart of Gold.
Yeah, definitely.
But as is, going to be another reset. Notbots only down a single inhibitor. They have a naked Nexus, but they're doing their best to hold on. We're going to have to see when the next Baron spawns. Still, I believe, 3 minutes or so. And that's going to be 3 more minutes for this Caitlyn to farm and try to hit another item.
Yeah, and I'd once again expect Notbots to not really do a lot of pushing out here. They'll try to keep the waves away from their Nexus, of course, but they have to be ready to counter the Pantheon ult.
Right. Yeah, I think that's pointing back to sort of the weaknesses in the draft for Heart of Gold's composition. They have Pantheon as their primary engage, but unfortunately for them, Pantheon has committed to lethality to try and snowball, which I think is the correct itemization, but it means that their have no true tanks. They have no reliable engage. Trundle's sort of bruisery. He's tanky, but his engage is pillar and then walking at the enemy team in a straight line, which is not a particularly effective form of engage against Morgana, Caitlyn, Karthus, Gangplank, Kindred. So in that situation, just even though Heart of Gold is really far ahead and they have a big gold advantage, they're just not able to convert it into a meaningful objective take.
Like, everything we've seen has basically started with a Pantheon ult, one or two people get popped instantly, and other than that play, they haven't really been able to do anything here.
Right. They make the Pantheon ult happen, and then they get one tower, and then they all recall.
But it's also much more difficult to find that when Notbots has decided to compact themselves in their base.
Right.
Although, as I say that, they now push out, and Pantheon is moving for what may be a Skyfall here.
Yep. Yeah, it looks like Notbots is on the 5-stack game plan. They're just gonna run around with the 5-man stack and farm their sideways, rotate the next lane, farm that one as 5 people, and so on and so forth. If we pay attention to Heart of Gold's wave management, they just haven't been synchronizing their wave pushes. They've been pushing the lanes one at a time. Fortunately for them, though, they're going to get a 3-stack Elder Dragon, and that might be finally what they need to close this one out.
So yeah, I think this is kind of the big moment here. If this Elder buff fades and the game isn't over or effectively over, I think we're going to instead be able to put Notbots in the driver's seat here.
Yep. Sounds right to me. Okay, they're like, okay, we can't possibly throw if we have Elder Dragon and Baron. So that seems to be their current plan of operation. They're going to take this. It's going to go down. There's no steal coming out, and now Zedia looking to Skyfall in. A lot of flashes go down, but Yarius gets chunked out before he can ultimate. Scanlong uses Lancer Spike to stay alive, but unfortunately there's just too low, and Trundle's going to walk in here. Karthus ultimate going down, but oh, it just gets hourglassed by Law Members Redemption, negates from that damage onto Corki, and maybe this man advantage is what they need to end the game. They have Baron and Elder Dragon. Zedia choosing to go top lane, though.
So I think they're worried. I'm not sure they think they win this 4v3.
Yeah, they really don't think they do, but
like,
but Scanlong has no Lancer Spite. Pantheon has Flash. He can just Flash Aegis, one of the AD carries, and then they just walk in and end, I'm fairly sure.
That's a very fair point.
But no, they're going to play this one slow. They have their Elder and Baron. They're going to siege. It's an open Nexus, but Yarius finally respawns. And it looks like Heart of Gold once again going to reset, buy some more items, get their late game fantasy. They want to make this game an exciting one for the viewers.
All I can think about watching Notbots in this game basically is the Austin Powers scene with a woman who should die about 35 different times. And eventually Austin Powers shakes her and goes, "Why won't you die?" That's pretty much their Nexus at this point.
Yeah. They're clinging on. Definitely props to Notbots for their hold here, taking a lot of discipline to play from this position. It feels really bad, but you know, if you know your composition have outs, if you know you just need to scale, you just have to have discipline, not push out too far, play really conservatively. So I'm sure Vanguard doing a lot for his team, rotating his teammates around, keeping them calm, saying like, "Don't worry, guys, we got this. We still have win conditions. We still have outs. This game matters." And they're really playing their hearts out here.
Even in that fight, Gangplank hasn't had his GA popped, so they're not really sitting there with any giant disadvantages. I mean, Pantheon has his GA too, but both Kindred and Gangplank are sitting there with Guardian Angels now.
Oh, Gangplank, Cannonbarge getting committed. Oh, Gangplank forced into his GA. They try to commit because they're getting split pushed to death, but they end up losing mid inhibitor basically for free. It goes uncontested. They're not able to trade anything back in the bottom lane. Ooh, it's rough. They need to keep the supers off their Nexus, but they can't do that and keep all their inhibitors alive at the same time. It's going to be a triple inhib, but no! Zedia man dropping in, Skyfall goes down, Yarius gets zoned out, is forced to ult after he comes out of Hourglass, so it does nothing, and Corki chunking out so many members. Vanguard goes down, has ultimate available, can he turn this around? Gurity kiting backward, but he can't get it! Pacific Time is up, but oh, the Nexus goes down, and it's going to be a Game 1 victory for Heart of Gold.
Yeah. I think Notbots just didn't have that one extra hold in their pocket that they needed.
Yeah, they needed just a little bit more time, but the inhibitor pressure was just too much. The clock was too fast, and they go down. Although Heart of Gold technically won this game, definitely have some strong criticism. I think they just had such a commanding position in the mid game and playing around their power spikes. That was good. They played really well around the Grand Skyfall, but they just the way they played the late game was really sloppy. And I think if maybe if Vance's team can draft something a little more robust, if they had better lane outcomes, I definitely favor Notbots' team fighting. They seem to have a little bit more cohesive of a plan. Their drafts make a lot of sense. So I think Notbots needs to just stay focused, focus on their laning, and if they can enter the mid game without being as much of a deficit, I think they can win for sure off of the back of Heart of Gold's weak shot calling.
I'll say worth noting, Caitlyn only managed to do 14,000 damage in that game.
Oh yeah, that's unfortunate.
Which, especially getting the quadra kill, getting in that point where she would have been really important. I mean, you would have really liked to see more from her. But it's hard to do that damage when the Pantheon is jumping on your face and one cycling your team.
Right, yeah. Looks like we have a little bit of downtime as we wait for the teams to get ready.
Yep. Not a lot else that's really surprising. No one's going to be surprised to find that Pantheon did twice as much damage as anyone else on this team.
Yeah, Zedia was really strong that game.
Vanguard did by far the most damage on his team, even though 264.
Yep.
Gameplay came in second with 25,000, doing more than anyone except for the Pantheon on Heart of Gold.
Yeah, do you think we'll see any changes to the draft strategies here? Do you think the bans will stay the same? Do you think there's potential to say early picking a mid laner for Vanguard instead of waiting for the second round of bans? Because although the Karthus wasn't bad, definitely looked a little bit uncomfortable for Vanguard. There were some unusual misplays that definitely impacted the game. So maybe prioritizing a comfort pick for Vanguard earlier on in the draft, even at the expense of getting a good matchup, might be worth it.
So I think the target banning was much more effective against Vanguard than it was against Ninja.
Right.
I mean, if I'm not bots here, I maybe have some things that I want to like. I don't feel like target banning Zesha was that effective. Like, yeah, he fell down to the Pantheon, which was his, I guess, 6th priority pick. But I mean, the Pantheon rolled over that game.
Yeah. I mean, it was also a little weird that they counterpicked themselves top lane with the Gangplank. It's possibly it's like a champion pool issue, and maybe there's double bans or Pacific Time doesn't play other champions, but opting into the Gangplank versus Pantheon, that's a little bit questionable to me, especially given the way it played out in that game. It's easy for us to say in hindsight, but even in a vacuum, that's not a fun lane for Gangplank, so opting into it is an unusual choice.
I mean, I think what they wanted to do is they wanted to counter the carry matchup and then really hit top hard.
Right.
But it just kind of never really materialized. Like, there was that first gank, which was a 1-for-1 for them. I mean, I feel like what I'd much rather see is I'd much rather see people with harder pools or with smaller pools get hit in the bans rather than Zesha.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
If there's a couple you really don't want to play against, like if you don't want to see that Aatrox come out, like, sure, ban that away, but maybe like hit Gavin or hit someone else who's sort of shown a smaller champion pool in this tournament and say, you know what? There's not all that much difference between Pantheon or Tryndamere or Garen or Aatrox or... Like, at some point, if you can throw 5 bans at a person, they still do that, like, maybe it's just not worth your time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think especially if you can make put Gavin onto something he's uncomfortable on, that gives Vanguard a lot more room to snowball and get ahead. Like, even though he outclasses his lane opponent, he wasn't really able to snowball other than producing a CS lead. So the fact that he's not able to impact the map was a big issue for the rest of his roster.
I'll say I'm not sure I would necessarily expect, like, Vanguard traditionally doesn't play a lot of, like, assassins that will just go in and take over the game or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I was not sold on the Karthus that game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, maybe if he's not willing to try and snowball through or is unable perhaps to snowball through the lane 1v1, maybe something like Twisted Fate, which I believe was still open. That might be an option if he wants global pressure for his team. Another thing I want to bring attention to is that if you remember the early game, Scanlong brutally out jungled Ban Shadows. It was an insane